Stand before your people this morning. Let the words of my mouth and the actions of my body be acceptable in thy sight. O our Savior and our Redeemer. Let your will and your word go forward, no matter what I have prepared. In Jesus' name we pray. Let us all say, Amen. There's a lily in the valley, and it's bright as the morning star. There's a lily in the valley, bright as the morning star. There's a lily in the valley, bright as the morning star. Amen. Amen. There is peace in the valley, and it's bright as the morning star. There is peace in the valley, bright as the morning star. There is peace in the valley, and it's bright as the morning star. Our text this morning comes from the book of Luke. It is Luke, the 9th chapter, verses 28 through 43. I won't read it again for time's sake, but this morning I want to talk a little bit about it. Have you been transfigured or have you been changed? Today is the last Sunday of Black History Month, but also on the liturgical calendar of the church today is Transfiguration Sunday. On Transfiguration Sunday, we celebrate the revelation of Christ's glory before the Passion so that we may be strengthened to bear our cross and be changed into his likeness. The Transfiguration is symbolic as a bridge between Jesus' public ministry and his passion. From the time of the Transfiguration, Jesus sets his face to go to Jerusalem and the cross. We come to this Transfiguration Sunday with a desire to transfigure ourselves and our community. We come with evidence of that hegemony still visibly present in the continued protest of the recent and continued killings of young Black people that go unrecognized by many in authority as worthy of response. that evidences justice for the victim. We come with the complicity of the Christian church with the many injustices that prevail in both the U.S. and global societies, and are a reality that should be dismissed if the church truly intends to be the people of God and claim his prophetic voice. In our text this morning, we have Jesus at the top of the mountain, being transfigured, receiving visits from Moses and Elijah, and they are talking about Jesus' departure. They were celebrating the Feast of Booths or Tabernacle, where people celebrated the protection offered by God during their wanderings in the wilderness. After seeing Elijah and Moses on the mountaintop, Peter wants to build them 2 booths so that they can stay there with them. But Jesus says they need to go back down to the people. Elijah and Moses disappeared into a cloud that overshadowed them. From this cloud appears a voice from God saying who Jesus is and that the disciples are to listen to him. Whether spiritual or religious, either way, there's a need to know transfiguration in our lives. That's what Peter wants, right? I'm not so sure that he wants to keep Jesus and his friends in tents forever. Peter wants to encapsulate the experience. He wants to capture the feeling. Transfiguration matters, it seems. It's not just a convenient event to mark on the Sunday that bridges Epiphany and Lent. It's not just a bizarre story that causes some Christian embarrassment. We all need transfiguration or change. What if we take Jesus out of the picture? Then we realize that this story is not just Jesus' revelation of his glory, but the fact that what we wish for is our own sense of glory. Not in a narcissistic look at me kind of way, but a recognition of the deep human need for transformation, change, conversion, makeover, alteration, metamorphosis. We need transfiguration as much as Jesus needed to be transfigured. Liturgically, biblically, Christologically, the transfiguration is a turning point, a transition from one way of seeing Jesus to another. It's not just about securing the Jesus of the future or holding on to the Jesus of the past, but point to the real human struggle with change, with transformation. Most of us who live honest with ourselves will admit that transformation for us or change for us is hard. Going from one place to another, one way of being to another, is hard. It's easier to stay the same and keep doing what you've always done, knowing what you already know. Just stay the course. To convince yourself that what you've always known is good enough, is satisfactory and sufficient, even when you've had glimpses of doing better. So some of us, we just sit and we wait. Wait for what? We wait for the right time, the right place, all of our questions to be answered, everything to be figured out, to have all of our proverbial ducks in a row. This is why we need transfiguration, why we need to be changed. Because oftentimes change just shows up. It does not give you warning. There is no right time. It just happens. It happens and it makes you say, well, now what? No amount of planning can predict the right kind of change. No amount of preparation can prepare you for an altered reality or an altered perspective. No amount of strategizing can make you ready for transfiguration or to truly be transfigured. I think Peter's issue is not so much about holding Jesus to his expectations, nor is it capturing the moment. I think Peter's issue is the realization that if Jesus changes, then Peter will be changed as well. I cannot be the same. I will also be transfigured, transformed. And maybe I don't want that. So let's pick some tents, keep things the way they are, hunker down and ride it out. Maybe the whole thing will pass by. I can come out of my tent and everything will still be the same. Jesus will still be the same and I will still be the same. That's why we need transfiguration. Jesus gets this. What will it be that gets you to move, to come out of your tent, to maybe even not to want to pitch a tent in the first place? There are certain things that happen to us in life that forces you to change, that you cannot stay where you've always been and do the things that you've always done. Many of us have learned these lessons growing up, and the things that you thought that were acceptable as a child or a young person, now as an older person, you you often look back and say, what in the world was I thinking about? Why didn't I know better? Because life happened and some things had to change. At some point, you realize that certain things in certain places are not good or beneficial to you, and that things in your life had to change. We often look around like others who continue to do the same things and expect things to be different, and say, well, don't you know you got to do something to change? I can't never move into a better area or provide better for my family if I'm satisfied doing whatever I've been doing to get where I am right now. Life requires change. Everything changes whether we want it to or not. The world you grew up in no longer exists. Many of us look back and mourn for those days, but the world changes whether we wanted it to or not. Our families change whether we want them to or not. The church changes whether we want it to or not. Things always change to adapt to what is going on around us. Whatever you want to call it, evolution, the law, the universe, or whatever, things always do change. There are very few things you can look at in life and say, this is still the same way it was 10 or 15 years ago, or 20 years ago, or 30 years ago. There's always a need for some sort of change. Now, all change ain't necessarily good change, but things always change. And we have to realize how you're going to deal with it when things change. When things go from good to bad, what are you going to do? Do you want to be like Peter and just stay at the same place and say, it's good for us just to build the tent here and stay here? Or will you listen when Jesus says you can't stay here, you have to go back down to the people? If they had not listened to Jesus, they would have simply stayed in the same place and never moved forward in life. But Jesus told them there was a need to move because there was things that needed to be done that could not be done there on the top of the mountain. Meaning the place where we think everything is good and all right is not always the place that God needs you to stay. There are some places that God requires us to move to, that when God says move, we have to move. We have to be willing to go and change and be changed because God said so. God talks to us all in our own ways and tells us what to do and how to go. But we have to be willing to listen. To get down to the nitty-gritty of what God is really saying to us. What are we supposed to do? Where are we supposed to go? God tells you, but are you willing to listen? Are you willing to be changed to leave who you used to be and be somebody different? We listen to these songs all the time that they say, I've been changed and God made me the person that I don't do the things I used to do and I don't go to places I used to go, but is that really the truth? Is that really truthful that you really don't go to those places anymore and do those things anymore, or do you just say that because it sounds good? It sounds good and looks good to other people, but did you truly change it on the inside? If you still treat people in nasty ways and you're self-centered and everything's about you, I would make the argument that nothing has really changed. You just got better at hiding. See, most of us, we real good at putting on a good front. We real good at hiding what's going on. But you can't hide nothing from God. God knows the truth of what you're doing, where you're going, who you're doing it with. So we have to be honest about whether we've actually tried to change as God would ask us to change. Or we satisfied with what we got, and it's okay. We can just stay in the same place in the booth because we saw Moses and Elijah there, and we thought this is the best place to be, the best place to stay. Or if you listen when God tells you it's time to go, to do what you need to do. And that's going to require you to change and make some moves in your life. And some things that you may not necessarily want to do. With some people you may not want to do it with. But you have to be willing to listen to God and know what God is saying to you. Even when it becomes unpopular, to continue to do it because God guided you into doing it. Because if God guided you into doing it, it can't be the wrong thing to do. Even when folks talk about you and they treat you wrong, if God guided you to it, it's the right thing to do. But I'm not saying that's the easy thing to do. Whatever it is, we have to be willing to listen to the Lord. And know that it's not going to be easy, that you won't be talked about, folks don't treat you wrong. When you were not trying to do anything, but do the right thing to the best of your ability. Change is not easy for any of us. Because most of us, we know somebody who ain't never changed. They continue to do the same thing in the same way, and they stay in the same place. And there are many of us that we learn from our mistakes that you can't keep doing the same stuff in the same places and expect something different. If you expect to move ahead in life, you got to go do something different. You got to go learn a trade or a skill or go look for a different job, but it's not going to change simply because we want it to change. You want better for whatever it is in your life, you got to do something to make it better. God will help you, but you got to do something to help yourself too. You have to be willing to be changed, to notice the things that are bad for you, even if it's somebody else and everybody else you know is doing it. That don't mean it's good for you. Because there are some things that other folks can do that don't bother them at all. But it's bad for your spirit because it affects you. We have to be willing to be changed, to be who God will call us to be. Because there's somebody that God is calling you to be. To do things in the way that you do it with the gift that you have. That others cannot do it the way you do. And it's going to look strange to some of those people because it's not the way that they do. And that's okay. Because God called you to be you, not to be them. Because in life, all you can do is be the best you can be. You can't be nobody else. We waste a whole lot of time, effort, and energy trying to be the next version of somebody else. But all you can do is be the best version of you. You can't be me. I can't be you. You got gifts I don't have, so God needs you to do certain things because I can't do it the way that you can. Oh, yes. There are people that you know that you have in your circle that you can affect. That they ain't listening to nothing I got to say because they don't know me like that. But you have to be the one willing to reach out to them and show them how things have changed for you. To make them say, if God can do it for them, God can do it for me. Because everybody is worthy of God's love, of God's grace and mercy, no matter where they are in life. We just have to be willing to be the ones to show people that if God changed us, He can change anybody. Because whether we admit it or not, some of us went some places that you felt like at some point you were too low for God to even love you. That you had done some things that you felt like even God wouldn't forgive you. But God always loves you, no matter where you are and what you do. You can always come back to the Lord. There's always opportunity to the day this life is over to do the right thing, to repent whatever your sins are, and get yourself back right with the Lord. Because until that moment you take your last breath, that's only when it's too late. And I encourage us all to get it right now because you're not promised tomorrow. I know we like to put a lot of stuff off till tomorrow, but you're not promised tomorrow. So you might want to get it right today. So that if you draw your last breath today, you in the right path of doing what you need to do. That you are willing to change your ways and be who God will call you to be and do the things God will have you to do. Amen? Amen. Amen. So today is your day to be changed by the Almighty. The doors of the church are now open unto you.